Ridgway.
Here.
LaScholz.
Here.
Burns.
Here.
Gilbert.
Here.
Chartrand.
Here.
Morahan. Here. Culzer.
Here.
Legislator Osborne has been excused. King.
Here.
Dahlhoff.
Here. Please stand for the invocation and pledge the flag. Gathered together here today, intent on doing good work. We seek to represent fairly and well those who have given us this task. May our efforts be blessed with insight, guided by understanding and wisdom. We seek to serve with respect for all. May our personal faith give us strength to act honestly and well in all manners before us. Is the flag for pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
There are no amendments to the 1/7/2020 board minutes. They stand approved. Anyone have any corrections? Report of the Finance and Rules Committee, Pool Rule 6. Cassandra?
The Finance and Rules Committee has met and they recommend to waive rules to act upon late resolutions.
Need a motion? Andrea, second. Randy? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. So, for privilege of the floor, we have 7 people signed up. I'll read off the name. Would that person please come to where these swinging doors are and state your name and address for the record. And you have 5 minutes to speak your piece. So, first on the list is Bo Bailey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Bo Bailey, spelled B-E-A-U, last name B-A-I-L-E-Y. I live with my wife, my 2 children in Lyons Falls, town of Lionsdale. Our governments were designed of, by, and for the people. We, the people, control the government, not the other way around. Our state's government has systematically transcended the people's control, and we're saying enough is enough. I'm here this evening as a voice for thousands of residents of the county who are fed up with the tyranny in this state's government. This group is specifically concerned with the constant attacks on the people's right to keep and bear arms, an inalienable right to secure. On January 4th of this year, a social media campaign kicked off with the purpose of making Lewis County a Second Amendment sanctuary county. This group of county residents find the New York State government under the leadership of Andrew Cuomo guilty of tyrannical practices, overstepping their bounds and recklessly violating liberties of the people guaranteed to us by the Constitution of the United States. A central group of us collaborated and initiated a petition to the county to adopt the Second Amendment Sanctuary Ordinance, also referred to as SASO or SAYSO. I provided a copy to the Legislative Board prior to the meeting. The response to the petition was overwhelmingly positive. More than 40 copies of the petition ended up in circulation. many being requested and administered by businesses all over our county. Since January 13th, the petition to adopt the say-so has garnered 2,961 signatures by the voters in all legislative districts of Lewis County. The say-so document and the petition are here to be submitted to the board this evening. We understand that not every resident of the county feels the same way as us. Much like in revolutionary times, there were loyalists that did not agree with declaring independence from Britain. We recognize that there is likely opposition to our cause here this evening. Just as we are exercising our constitutional right to assemble, to demonstrate, and to speak, we will honor theirs as well. I caution you, however, you'll likely be given a slew of statistical data. I spent more than 15 years as a math educator and became a nationally recognized and respected math curriculum developer. I know the power of statistical data and how it can be very convincing in arguments. However, the details of how data is collected or how its variables are defined can and are often used to mislead. For example, according to the New York State Department of Criminal Justice, in each of the years 2016, 2017, and 2018, there were 3 incidents of violent crimes recorded in Lewis County involving firearms. That might sound alarming. However, what the data does not tell you is that quote-unquote violent crimes includes suicides. A suicide using a personal firearm is not a malicious use of firearms toward another individual and can therefore hardly be categorized as a violent crime. This is a prime example of how lack of definition in statistical variables can mislead readers to believe in false trends. The citizens of this county have been impacted over the past 50-plus years with changes and declines in its economy and a major shift in representation, or lack thereof, by our state government. As a result, many citizens have become stoic while their liberties are continuously attacked by the powers in Albany. We the people say, enough is enough. We know that taking this stand might come with consequences, but that is a gamble that we the people are willing to take because our rights are not for sale. We the people are willing to deal with any repercussions from the governor, including attacks on us through the state budget. Because the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Good job.
Patrick Morse.
Patrick Morris, P-A-T-R-I-C-K-M-O-R-I-C. I live in the town of New Bremen. And for those who don't know, I just had someone check the crowd. It goes all the way down the stairs. It fills the entire hallway downstairs, and it's backed up to security. So if we do another one of these, we might want to think of a different venue.
Yes.
The Second Amendment sanctuary ordinance before you would only affect New York State firearm laws. We would still be subject to a host of federal laws. Federal laws such as the National Firearms Act of 1934, the Federal Firearms Act of 1938, the Crime Control Safe Streets Act of 68, the Gun Control Act of 68, the Fireowners Protection Act of 86, the Undetectable Firearms Act of 88, the Gun-Free School Zones Act of 1990, the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act of 1993. As you can see, gun owners are already heavily regulated, and enough is enough. Here in New York State, there are another 113 laws dealing with firearms. 24 of which are in the penal law. The most well-known of those is the New York SAFE Act, which that act alone is 54 pages in length and deals with a multitude of regulations. Remember, this law was passed in less than 24 hours with absolutely 0.0 input from gun owners. It is riddled with flaws, and portions have already been ruled unconstitutional. For those who say we are paranoid that no one will take our guns, the SAFE Act already did it. Magazines had to be destroyed or sold out of state. Family-owned firearms could not be kept upon an owner's death or move out of state. And deer rifles, with a simple muzzle brake, became so-called assault weapons overnight. Fast forward to 2019, we had a dramatic shift in representation in Albany. 8 new gun laws were passed. No bipartisan support whatsoever. I will talk about one and only one, the Safe Storage Act. It was a whopping 1 page, 2 paragraphs. First paragraph dealt with, keeping guns away from 3-year-olds in the home. We fully support that. But the second paragraph talked about outside of the home. It dealt with that hunting camp. It dealt with at the shooting range. And 91 assemblymen voted for it. No one can tell me they can't comprehend that the second paragraph took away all youth shooting activities. It took away hunter safety classes. It took away Boy Scouts of America. It took away everything. They said if you had a hunting license, well, you were exempt from the law. But you can't get a hunting license without a hunter safety course. It wasn't until the sheriff and I got on a New York Times article that they had an epiphany and they changed the law. And by the way, when they changed it, it was 145-1. Tiny bit of input from us makes the law 10 times better. Now, 2020, here we are. I did a search on the New York State Senate website yesterday. 56 gun laws are proposed for this year. 56. When will it ever end? These are not common sense gun laws. Lewis County safe. 2016 crime data from the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services. Lewis County ranked 58 out of 62 counties in the state by the number of crimes committed per 100,000 people. These index crimes include both violent crimes like murder, rape, and assault, and so-called property crimes like burglary and motor vehicle theft. Why, I might ask, is a county as safe as Lewis County, with a very large firearm presence, having to put up with the direct violation of our constitutional rights? It was safe long before these laws came in, and it will be safe long after. New York City values and regulations are not needed in Lewis County.
That's right. That's right. You're here.
Absolutely.
Law enforcement. I've taken a poll personally. I know y'all know I'm friends with the sheriff, but I went behind his back and I went to deputies. I went to village patrolmen. I went to state troopers. I went to ENCON officers. I went to forest rangers. All locally, all in the last 48 hours. And to a man and girl, they are 100% against these laws. They feel they're unconstitutional. They divert precious resources, and they now have to go against the good guys taking their guns, and that's what they absolutely do not want to do. Local government opposition, 2013. This board, along with 51 other counties, sent a resolution to Albany saying, we don't like the SAFE Act. Okay? So there was a total of 52 out of 62 counties, 335 municipalities. What did the resolutions do? Absolutely nothing. It's a piece of paper, it's passed, and regrettably it does nothing. And this board, even though you've been with us in the past, has been pretty quiet in the last 7 years. We haven't seen a lot, and we're asking for it now. So in closing, only an ordinance stating that Lewis County resources will not be used to enforce the will of downstate politicians will have an effect on preserving our liberties. Remember that all persons are presumed innocent until proven guilty, and most of these laws take away our rights guaranteed under the U.S. Constitution. The governor uses state resources and treasury all the time to go against the federal government. He even blatantly goes against federal law, and he uses our dime to do it. All we're asking is you do the exact same thing. Don't be afraid of the governor. We can't be bought. We're not afraid of him.
Thank you, Patrick. Gordon
Belay, do I have that?
Bel Air. It's Gordonbelair. I'm from the town of Montague. I'm 72 years old, hunted for 58 years. Had 28 years in law enforcement. I think what has been prosed, I can't be as eloquent as these gentlemen, but it's a sin. It's just an out-and-out sin. All these people who have a decent life and try to do the right thing, and they try to vote this out for us. It's absolutely wrong. Harry Truman had a sign on his desk saying, "The buck stops here. We're coming to you." From my mouth to God's ear, that's the bet. That's the USA.
Thank you. Gordon Matthew Meyer.
My name's Matthew Meyer, town of Watson. That's M-E-I-E-R. I was born and raised in Kansas, out west. I enlisted in the United States Army in 2010 and served with the 10th Mountain Division as a combat medic overseas, and I currently serve as a paramedic here in Lewis County with Lewis County Search and Rescue. There are probably few people as intimate with the effects of gun violence as myself. I've been there, I've put my hands on people, I've witnessed it. I lost friends overseas from gunfire. But one thing is, all of us took an oath, and a bunch of other people in this room took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies, foreign and domestic. Unfortunately, we're facing a domestic enemy now who sees us to impose on these rights that we were born with as Americans. One of those that I want to point out that I have an issue with is the red flag law. Often when you're in the middle of a gun control debate, the red flag law is brought up as flawless. It's supposed to stop problems. The red flag law is based on the assumption that someone may commit a crime. Where's the due process in that? Our First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, and 14th Amendment rights are all violated by red flag laws. American citizens who are otherwise law-abiding can say something stupid on social media. Why can't we have personal accountability and say, that person said something stupid? Instead, it can be weaponized by somebody who disagrees with them. That person is then disarmed and their personal property is taken from them. Now that person goes before a judge and has to prove themselves innocent. As opposed to, in America, you're supposed to be proven guilty. But in this case, you're supposed to prove yourself innocent in the attempt to reclaim your property for something you never did. Someone thought you might. Illegal search and seizure, your things are taken, lack of due process, violation of your First Amendment rights, no free speech. You say something that someone else believes to be hate speech, and you can be disarmed. And then you have to fight, paying legal fees, standing before a judge to get your items back. In some cases, the state will even get rid of those and destroy them before you can even fight long enough to reclaim them. And it's stealing from law-abiding citizens. You can assume someone's going to commit a crime or may commit a crime all you want, but when it comes down to it, due process is real, and our right to bear arms is real, and it shall not be infringed. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Judy Bentley.
Sorry, it takes me a minute to get out here. Judy Bentley, B-E-N-T-L-E-Y, Lionsdale. I brought a slew of statistics tonight. I just moved back to Lewis County and retired here because I feel safe here. New York has the second lowest rate of gun homicide in all of the 50 states. I had really no experience with guns. I feel I'm very fortunate because there are people here that have had real serious, severe experience with irresponsible gun use. So I wanted to do my homework before I came. I'm a retired college professor. I teach research methods, and the statistics that I'm bringing I feel are important. I feel they're relevant, and they're from the Centers for Disease Control, which means that they are reputable and apolitical. And I'll just give you a few. The U.S. gun homicide rate is 25 times that of other high-income countries. 100 Americans are killed with guns every day. The suicide rate in the U.S. with guns is 10 times that of other high-income countries. And gun suicides tend to concentrate in states where there are higher rates of firearm ownership and broad access to firearms. 51% of suicides involve a firearm, and access to gun triples the rate of suicide. There are 1,500 children shot and killed each year. 4.6 million kids live in homes where guns are loaded and unlocked. Every year, 600 American women are shot to death by their intimate partners. Abused women are 5 times more likely to be killed if the abuser has a firearm. Gun violence costs the American economy $229 billion a year, and each American $700 a year. I feel that if the petition, which I have also read in doing my homework, is allowed to pass, that we will become statistics here in Lewis County where we're safe now.
Thank you.
I don't know, I haven't found that.
Mike Mastro Giovanni.
Hi, I'm Mike Mastro Giovanni, Mastro Giovanni. I'm from Liverpool, New York. I'm also president of Gun Owners of America, New York. Most of my talking points have been taken. The statistic this nice lady had just brought up, take out gangbanging, suicides, because people will kill themselves no matter what, misuse of firearms by criminals, and you'll come down to that 0.0005% of law-abiding guns have committed a crime. So the statistics are based on all shooting, not all, mostly criminal. I have a sheriff back here, he can tell you the same thing. Let's look at the Second Amendment. Second Amendment says, shall not be infringed. New York State Civil Liberties Law has a Second Amendment written in it, except for the very end. Cannot be infringed. That's New York State. New York State, and these other places like Virginia now, are trying to say that state law trumps the Constitution and federal law. It doesn't. It does not. The word keep and bear. Keep means have, bear means use. If they make ammunition laws like are being tried to be put through now, where you can't get ammunition, you can't that means you can't bear your arm because you can't have ammunition to use it. Again, unconstitutional. We have an out-of-control government. I'm sure there's people sitting in front of me that own guns. I'm sure there's people in front of me that hunt. But it's not about hunting. Self-protection. The sheriff is only 5 minutes away when you make the call. Being a Second Amendment sanctuary city or county means you disagree with King Cuomo. Somebody has to rein them in. And it starts with these type of movements. This is a conservative area, and it should stand up for it. You can't, the safe storage, it's, again, marked at the kids in the youth. You had youth trap leagues up here, or trap clubs. I know at Liverpool they have a trap club. They couldn't have a trap team.
Okay? It's all semantics and words. We need somehow in this state to take back our rights.
Yeah.
One of the only ways we can take back our rights may be separate New York, who knows? But I'm here to support the sanctuary county movement. We need it. I live in Onondaga County. I'm going to try down there, but Syracuse is a very liberal spot. So we don't know what they'll do.
We'll be behind you.
Yeah, so I've spent a lot of time up in this area. Phil can tell you. All right, beautiful area. And the governor is trying to take away the shooting sports, your home. I mean, with the red flag law, you could lose everything. Another thing with the red flag law that nobody knows, you get red flag and they take your guns, the odds of you getting them back are next to none. You'll never see them again. No compensation for them, no nothing. How many law-abiding people have you seen in jail that use their gun to hurt somebody? You don't. We're the safest people. If everybody in this world were armed in our country, we're the most polite society in the world.
Amen.
That's it. So thank you for your time. I hope you listen.
Thank you, Mark. Christina Moody.
Hello everyone, my name is Christine Mooney, C-H-R-I-S-T-I-N-E, Mooney, M-O-O-N-E-Y. I am a resident of Glenfield. And I was not supposed to speak tonight, but I decided to respond to a few of the things that were stated earlier. One on suicides. I consider suicide a violent crime, and I also consider suicide something that we need to try to reduce in terms of number. And the problem with guns is that guns are very effective when someone wants to commit suicide. When you compare that to the number of suicides committed by other forms, sometimes people change their minds because they survive the attempt. With guns, it's often to completion. So that is a little bit unnerving for me to hear. Also, there are 4 school districts in Lewis County. We have children that attend daily from the ages 4 to 18. And those in these districts are responsible for the safety of these children. There are now means to actually train teachers in applying tourniquets, because they find that 60% of the deaths that occur in school shootings are due to bleed-outs. And so to prevent deaths of our children, now teachers and school officials will be trained in applying tourniquets. We have all kinds of new regulations and rules that we're following within the classroom to try to save lives, given the school shootings that have occurred across the country. I would also like to say that New York is one of the safest states in the country. You can go to Mississippi, where not only are the gun laws very weak, but the homicides and suicide rates are the highest in the nation. I am married to an avid hunter. We own many guns. My husband has never complained about having to not be able to purchase or acquire any weapon for his sporting events. And I witnessed that firsthand. We actually live on venison. I haven't bought beef in about 25 years. So I, as someone who is concerned about children and children's safety, ask you to listen to that argument. We have kids in class now that during lockdowns are afraid, and we are actually wondering why we see high anxiety in our children. The rates are going up every year. They're diagnosed with anxiety disorders in first and second grade. We have a responsibility as leaders in their lives to make sure that we're protecting our children, number one. Number one. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to say something. Okay. Bill? Okay? Yes. First off, I want to say I'm only speaking for myself. As a group, we have not discussed this, so I'm only giving my own opinions. My first opinion is you folks are a tough act to follow, and on all sides of the issue. And the reason is, you're speaking from the heart. And we want to thank you for coming today. I am far from the smartest guy in the room, and I really found that out when I tried to read and understand Federalist number 46 by James Madison. That was one smart man. He's a lot smarter than me. And most everybody in here is smarter than me. Which means that I don't know the answer. I know the question, but I don't know the answer. It could be this resolution, it could be something in between, but we need to find an answer to this situation. And obviously, Albany doesn't know the answer because they continue to pass these laws that are unwarranted infringement on our lives. It's not just the SAFE Act, it's a multitude of laws that they pass in the middle of the night, again, that affect us negatively. So, I think, in my opinion, the SAFE Act is the one that's a hot button for us because it's about our heritage. And they're taking away our heritage, and we don't like it. I don't like it. And I don't think many other people do either. I believe that we should all be able to sit down and work together and find some common ground. And we all ought to be able to find some common ground with Albany. Stranger things have happened. But good things happen when people work together. Thank you.
Thank you all for your comments and efforts on the SAFE Act and the issue of Lewis County becoming a sanctuary county.
I had a chance opportunity to speak yet, and I'd like to have a chance to talk as the sheriff of this county to the people that are here, okay?
Yeah.
First, I want to thank everybody, all the citizens that are here, that have showed up tonight to show your heart, your feeling against this tyrant that we have in Albany, against some of the ridiculous legislation that's being put down upon you. I just came back from Albany today. Every time I go down there, I try to have a positive attitude. Have you spoke with my county chair, I say chairman, I take that back. I'm sorry, I used to say it. What I'm saying is, we've all been to Albany, and I want you to know the truth. It's not good. And I want them to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I want your assemblymen, I want your senators to tell you the truth. They're against you down there. They don't want to listen to upstate New York. And I'm upset that we don't have more of the people, of our politicians standing up for the people behind me. The hypocrisy that when a state can pass a law to kill a life at 9 months old,
Yeah.
9 months old, born and then kill it. They want to pass laws. And they want to pass laws to prevent more violence with guns
Turn criminals loose.
that kill far less than what they do. Hypocrisy. None of us would be in this meeting tonight. None of us would be here at all if we're not for the Second Amendment. Our government would not be here if not for the Second Amendment.
That's right.
Right.
So I just get upset when we ignore it like we do and just say, well, they passed laws. They listen to people, they pass laws. I agree with what he has to say. Everybody should be heard. I agree with that. There should be fair representation. But that's not happening right now.
No, it's not.
It's not happening. So tonight, I support everybody in this room. But I absolutely support the Constitution, the oath that I took. I will support that way before I'll support the state, way before I'll support the county constitution, or any of the constitution. And no, I am not in fear of my governor. Nobody should be in fear of their elected official. So I hope he hears a loud and clear message from Lewis County.
I hope so.
We're not afraid of Governor Cuomo.
No.
I'm not afraid of Governor Cuomo.
No.
And I wish that they would give us the respect that we show them every day and night, 24/7.
That's right.
This is no joke.
No.
This is no laughing matter. This is nothing about slapping people on the back, shaking hands, clapping, and congratulating anybody or taking any kind of solace in what's going on here tonight. This is the fight for your lives as you know it in a free republic.
Freedom.
Freedom. All about the votes.
Como sucks. So please, listen to all the people in this room. Everybody. Everybody. I say that, okay? I do. And I defend all of you. And I always will. I believe that our legislators will do the same and give everybody a chance.
Yes.
One more chance. Thank you.
Sir, may I speak? I did not sign the paper. I would like to just add a few things.
I'll allow one more, and that's it. Technically, we were supposed to cut it off at the list, so.
My name is Rick Byer. I originate from West Martinsburg. And you just look. You talk about suicide and marital problems. He's letting people out for $1 bail.
Yeah.
Mike's hands are tied. Where does this begin? We can't defend ourselves. He's letting criminals out of prison that are murderers, and then some. And so we need these things all the more to defend ourselves.
Go buy them
Get it right or wrong.
to the Mets game.
That's all I have to
I want to assure you that this board supports the Second Amendment. We understand your concerns and passion on this issue. The board will take under advisement all the comments and requests expressed here tonight. We are aware that Wyoming County has moved forward with a resolution. We will take a look at that also. In addition, I believe the SAFE Act is itself being challenged in court. Perhaps the act itself will be struck down and the issue will be decided for us by the courts. As a word of caution, this board moves slowly and deliberately and tries to do what's best for all the residents in the county. So give us some time. We will take your comments and requests into consideration. We will respond. Again, thank you for coming tonight. We appreciate hearing from our constituents. In this case, not only you who are supportive, but also those of you who have concerns. So thank you all. Is there anyone here who would like privilege of the floor for anything other than this subject?
That will move on to presentations of petitions, communications, and notices.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have anything to report at this time.
All recess for 5 minutes. Reports of county officers and departments. Senator?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All legislators have received copies of the Treasurer's January report, the January 23rd and 24th Highway and Solid Waste Department audit reports, and the Youth Bureau Advisory Report meeting minutes from January 15th. Legislators received copies of the 2019 annual reports from the following departments: County Clerk, Community Services, Emergency Management, Highway, Information Technology, Planning, Probation, Public Health, Office for the Aging, Recreation, Forestry and Parks, Real Property Tax Services, Solid Waste, Treasurer, and Veterans Service Agency, which have been placed on file with the Clerk of the Board. That is all.
Thank you. Reports of standing committees. Ron, would you like to start with finance and rules?
Again, I don't have anything to say on the finance and rules, but I do have a motion. The motion to fill the vacant information technology director's position.
Moved by Ron, second by Dick. Discussion.
You mean to start interviews?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Any questions for Ron? And now we'll move on to Jerry, General Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have 3 motions. The first one is authorize Buildings and Grounds Supervisor Matt O'Connor to put out an RFP for asbestos removal and window replacement project at the highway garage.
Moved by Jerry, second by Ron. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Second one is authorize Buildings and Grounds Supervisor Matt O'Connor to put out an RFP for siding project at the highway garage.
Moved by Jerry, second by Andrea. Discussion.
Is that, I have a question. The siding, is that covering the brick and windows?
Yeah,
and
it'll
all
be
that?
insulated. No, there'll be windows in there.
They're gonna take those glass block windows
Well,
out.
that also no. Through the joints, so it'll be probably smaller. There's no need to have the bigger ones, but there will be windows back in. And then covered.
Frame it and then.
Yep, and then covered with, I think, double insulation, 2 layers, like 2 inches, and then,
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
okay, and to fill probation department, to fill the probation director's position and associated backfill in the department due to impending retirement effective immediately.
Moved by Jerry, second by Andrea. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Any questions for Jerry? If not, we'll move on to Randy with Health and Human Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no report, but I do have 2 motions to put forth. First one is to authorize Public Health Director Ashley Waite to put out an RFP for transportation needs of children receiving preschool special education services due to upcoming contract expiration.
Moved by Randy, second by Ron. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Second motion I have is to authorize Social Services Commissioner Jenny Jones to refill a full-time employment and training assistant due to a resignation effective immediately.
Moved by Randy, second by Bill. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Questions for Randy? Thank you, Randy. Dick, the board's representative on the hospital board managers.
Yeah, just a couple of things. The employee of the month for December is Tammy Thompson, LPN. If you see Tammy in the halls, congratulate her on her job well done, getting elected to that. The second piece is quite enjoyable for me. The year-to-date gain, which is the year for this 2019, for the hospital is $191,662 above a break-even budget. Having MOUs to read in the past that we're going to have to pay back $4.8 million, so I'm really glad to be able to say we had a gain. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Jerry Kerr to speak on a couple of topics that he's going to talk about.
Welcome, Jerry.
Thank you. May I approach the text? I have lots of things in my hand. I'm limited as to how many things I can do at one time when I'm shuffling.
I'm limited to one.
I want to take the opportunity to talk about a little bit of a storm that awaits us on the critical access side of the health system. And you know, where I came from, we were not a municipal hospital, so these sorts of things we would just talk. I would report to the board of directors. Our meetings were not covered by the media or other individuals, so you know, this notion of talking in executive session was not something we did often. However, as you know, we're guided by the public officers law, and there are some restrictions on what I can bring to executive session. So this is a topic that does not meet the qualifications for executive session, which is why I gave a briefing to the Board of Managers. The briefing to the Board of Managers was somewhere between 35 and 45 minutes long last week at their meeting. My goal was in a 5 to 8 minute span to give you a very quick review of one of our challenges that is forthcoming. And the reason I think that is important, behind you on the wall to the right here, you are seeing essentially the final drawings for the floor plans for the changes that we are proposing for the health system. And then you are also seeing the plans for how that looks on the current property. This project has to go through a certificate of need process, which later this month at the HHS committee meeting, I will give you a deeper briefing on this project, which will include the schedule and projected costs for the project, because I will need the Board of Legislators' support to move on with the process so we can complete the certificate of need, but also remain open to bonding the project. And we've been having conversations over the last 6 months or so, you know, with periodic updates on the project. Also keep in mind, I recently shared with my board the economic impact of Lewis County in 2019. Our economic impact to the county was $115 million on an $83 million budget. We generated 1,000 jobs. Our employees paid $49 million in, our payroll expenditures were $49 million, and the tax dollars generated by our employees contributing to state and federal taxes was $11 million. So this really speaks to our important role in the economic vitality of Lewis County, in addition to our most important role in providing health services. There are 2 other hospitals in the North Country that will be facing the same challenge we have, and that is Carthage and Gouverneur. And when you put the 3 hospitals together, the potential impact is $220 million. So healthcare is a very important part of the regional economy. So what is the challenge that we are working through? As you know, critical access was designated by CMS really to reduce the financial vulnerability of rural hospitals and improve access to health care. This designation was to help preserve access to health care in rural America. And Lewis County has benefited from that. Those who came before me recognized the wisdom of pursuing critical access, and the team there has proceeded and managed that incredibly well. However, like most things, there are criteria you must meet to be in a program or to have a designation. And there are many, but the one that has jumped up most recently that has us a bit concerned is there are mileage requirements between hospitals to be a critical access hospital. And Lewis County became a critical access hospital in 2014. In June of 2020, we must recertify to be a critical access hospital. That's a handful of months away from now. And up until 2 weeks ago was really not something we thought much about. We're a deemed status organization, which means when the Joint Commission visits us, the state of New York and the federal government recognizes that survey process. That's very important. However, there was a subtle change made in 2015 which changed the designation of what is considered a primary road. And State Route 26 is now considered a primary road within the U.S. Let me get the exact language for you. State Route 26 is now considered a part of the national highway system, which makes it a primary road. Now, in the critical access definition, a primary road stipulates that you must be at least 35 miles away from the nearest hospital. When State Route 26 was considered a secondary road, you only had to be 15 miles away from the other hospital. So we are 15.6 miles from Carthage Area Hospital. So we met the definition. But the definition, if it's changed to primary, we are not even close to the 35-mile requirement. And then Carthage to Gouverneur. So you can see how we're all sort of connected with these mileage, with this change in road impacting the mileage requirements. So there are 9 hospitals in New York State that are impacted by this, out of the 18 critical access hospitals. 3 of us are in the North Country, and in the very near term must recertify. There are approximately 70 hospitals across the country. I can tell you that I'm a person who has a very positive and constructive relationship with Albany, specifically the Department of Health, and I have been incredibly impressed with how they've approached this challenge and how they are working with us in Lewis County and my colleagues in healthcare in other parts of the North Country to help find a resolution to this. So they have been terrific. And as I've reported to my board, I truly believe there was no intentional design to reduce the number of hospitals. I think there was simply clarification on a definition in 2015 without an understanding of how it would impact hospitals moving forward. And recently a hospital applied for critical access status and they were denied. This was one of the reasons they were denied, which brought light to the issue, which allowed the Department of Health to actively engage and bring the rest of us up to date on this. So this is important because when I approach you as our governing body, which will approve the bond, and we go through the certificate of need process, we have to be able to demonstrate our financial wherewithal to support the investment that would be made in this capital project. So I'm here to tell you tonight, one, I wanted to give you a briefing, much shorter version than I gave the Board of Managers, so you didn't let the word on the street influence you without knowing the facts. And 2, to let you know that I believe we will get to the other end of this and will be a critical access hospital for the long haul. But like anything, if you don't pay attention to the details and constructively work to make the change, then we could be on the short end of the stick. And I am very optimistic working with Haney's, working with Iroquois Health, working with the other 17 critical access hospitals, and specifically the 8 who are impacted, we will successfully change this sub-regulation that was modified in 2015 that just came to light. So I really wanted to be transparent with you, let you know what's going on, but I feel like we have a good handle on it and are constructively working. I would like to say it's the #1 priority that I'm working on, but that wouldn't be fair to the other projects and initiatives that we have going. I would say it's in the list of the top 20, and on some days it is all of the focus, but then there are other days, you know, we have to allow the process to work, and then we sit it back a little bit. So, are there any questions?
Yes. How does Carthage building a new hospital affect that with their location? Would that be within the 15.6 miles?
Yeah, I really can't speak to that because my conversations with Carthage have been strictly on this point. And I haven't asked, nor have I been briefed on their project. I know it's out there as a plan, but I'm not aware of, I truly don't know the details. So, yeah, it would be conjecture, not grounded in fact.
That happens a lot with me. It just seems like it would be closer than their current location, and that's the reason.
No, I actually think it's a little further away from us than the current hospital.
Okay.
You know, it's going to be out near the high school.
Right.
And so that's a little bit further than the 15.6, but not by a lot.
We should also point out that if they get too close, they jeopardize their rights. They can't get within
That's a good
50
point.
miles.
I didn't think about that.
So I'm sure they're going to make sure they're more than 15 miles away.
So your words were just a little bit of a storm. What would the dollar impact be, or don't you want to say?
No, right now is projected, with the help of the Critical Access Health Network, which is a group that comes together quarterly, and it's amazing. Critical Access Hospitals share lots of information. You share financials, you share quality data, and so through that group, we were able to get that number for each of us. Lewis County's number is $5.3 million projected annually. That would fundamentally change the services we could offer and could potentially impact our long-term viability. So, you know, Dick reported we did a little better than budget this year, which was good, right? We exceeded our budget. But let's be honest, Dick, that number was
191,662
on an $83 million budget. So the team is doing a great job paying attention to the financials. We've saved a little bit of money because of the hard work of many. But when your margin is that narrow, $5.3 million is a bit of a storm.
That's a bit of a storm. Yeah.
Right. But it's a storm that is manageable, and because we're constructively proactive, and there's no finger pointing, there's no blaming, because there's a fundamental belief that no one intentionally meant to do this. They were clarifying some definitions, and somebody at a low administrative level just followed the rules and denied a hospital that requested critical access. So now let's work on changing the sub-regulation, and that's where we're putting our energy.
Actually, when you compare 5 million to 83 million, I guess it is a little bit of a storm versus just
Right.
looking at $5 million.
And the 83, keep in mind, is not just the hospital. It includes the long-term care facility, it includes home health, it includes hospice, and the physician practices. So in the hospital is just one portion of many service lines that make up the 83 million.
Thanks.
All right, well, thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, please you can reach out to Ryan or myself, and we'll get you the information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the list is the county manager's report, Ryan.
Mr. Chairman,
Easy.
You two make a good team.
So I wanted to say a few words on the MaxAC conference and the state's budget, which was, the executive budget was released last week. And Randy and I got to spend a few days in Albany with our peers throughout New York State counties, going over some of the budget implications and talking through what it will mean for us. The number one thing that has come in the budget this year, and again, we're going to spend a lot more time with this at the Finance and Rules Committee, I'm hoping, on the 18th, but $4 billion of the state's $6 billion projected deficit is from Medicaid spending. And part of what is proposed in the governor's budget is to partially reverse the Medicaid cap. And right now, if you look at our budget for the last 5 years, we have been capped at about $5 million annually that we have to pay for our county's share of Medicaid, which, by the way, we're the only county in the only local governments in the United States that have to pay for a portion of Medicaid is New York State. But we pay about $5 million. The state is proposing to peel back that cap and hold counties responsible for any growth over 3%. So Jimmy's team has been working hard to understand the implications of that because the state has not been clear. But we are coming to a consensus with some of the other counties in the way to approach this problem. And we went back 30 years, and over 30 years that would be a $1.3 million cost shift to Lewis County. In 2019, it would have been a $419,000 cost shift to Lewis County, which is about a 4.6% tax increase. So we're not dealing with big margins because we're also under the state's 2% tax cap. So when you start talking about $500,000, that's not something we can easily come up with. So this is something that we are going to want to fight. We're going to want to be heard on. In fact, NISAC is putting together an advocacy day in Albany on February 12th, which is next Wednesday. We can organize transportation down for any legislator that would like to join us. They are going to do a briefing for all county officials with a breakfast in Albany, and then they rented a series of suites, and so they're going to have the elected officials in the Assembly and the Senate come to us. That's what the plan is. So they'll give us a briefing, and then they'll invite our assemblymen and senators and some that aren't representing counties. You know, this is it's not enough just to talk to Assemblyman Blankenbush and Senator Griffo because we already know that they support us. We have to make sure that we get other folks that represent the city and Long Island. We have to make sure we reach them as well. So NISAC is helping to set that up. They're inviting all the county officials down to participate in that on the 12th. So if you're interested, let Cassandra know, let myself know, and we'll try to carpool and get a group down. I will certainly attend on that day. The other thing that's in the state budget that is to be aware of is the second year in a row that they have put the legalization of, or I should say decriminalization of recreational marijuana in the state budget. The state is counting on that revenue in order to balance the budget. So they put a little more pressure this year on the Senate than they did last year by actually counting on the revenue. For us, you know, the way they have it written so far is we get 2% of the sales generated in our county. And the reason that, besides the legalization issue, which I'm sure many of you have opinions on, the 2% is not good because on a normal sale of a bagel or a gallon of gas, we get 4%. So they're restricting the amount that is going to counties that is less than a regular purchase of a sales tax. So that's not something that is that is in our favor either. So those are the two big things, but like I said, we'll go over it in more detail on the 18th. Ag Sustainability Council has been meeting now for about 6 months. They've been doing wonderful work. John was attending those meetings, but we don't have a legislator that has attended the last month since John has been off the board. So if someone would like to attend, or multiple, you guys are more than welcome. We have great attendance, we have good discussions, and we've actually come up with some good policy ideas that are going to start filtering to the board over the next couple months. Some dealing with solar, some dealing with some other tax policy. So good stuff is coming out of that. Our next meeting is February 14th. It's a Friday at 9 o'clock at the new JCC building in the conference room. So all legislators are obviously more than welcome to attend.
Is it always set up on the same day, right?
What's that?
Is it always set up on a certain day, the third Friday of the month? Or?
I think that it is. I just don't know what that date is. Whatever this one is, I think is how we do it. So it might be the third Friday, yeah. In addition to that, we have on February 18th, one thing that's come out of these Ag Sustainability Councils are, like I said, some solar and land use training. Farmers are getting inundated with requests from solar developers. And so the planning department, working with Cornell Cooperative Extension, working with State Ag and Markets, is putting together a forum for farmers and landowners in Lewis County that are hearing from solar developers. So that will be on February 18th. We'll do 2 sessions, one at 1 o'clock and one at 6 o'clock. So unfortunately, it's the same day as our committee meetings, but maybe we can get out at 6 o'clock if you guys are interested in hearing some of what we put together on that. As Cassandra noted, your new reports from the department heads are in your mailboxes. March 3rd, we have the Cleveland JCC coming in, the annual community survey. So that's going to be an early meeting. We'll ask you if you want to participate in that to be here at 4 o'clock for next month's board meeting. And as Jerry had mentioned, we do have a final candidate for the probation director position, but we do need to get a waiver from the state of New York. So we didn't bring it forward tonight because we want to make sure we have that in hand before we make the appointment. Mary Jo doesn't retire until the end of March, so we can make the appointment next month.
What waiver do you need?
So in order to take the position of probation director in New York State, that position is only eligible to people who have been a probation supervisor. Because our department is so small, we don't have a probation supervisor. We only have 5 people, so we don't have that extra layer of supervision. So we just need a waiver from the state that says we don't have to have a probation supervisor. So that's what we're waiting for. It shouldn't be a problem. It's just we don't have it in hand today, so that's why we didn't do the appointment. So.
You project it to be in hand by next month, Brian? Or will it be like the assistant DA position?
This should be a little easier because we don't need any legislative action. We just need a signed letter on a letterhead from Bob Macaron, who is in charge of probation and community corrections in New York State. So I hope that it is not that hard. Randy and I saw him last week at NISAC, and I put a bug in his ear about it, and he certainly knows Mary Jo. She's been around for a long time, so I don't anticipate that's going to be a problem. I hope not.
Any questions for Ryan? Thank you, Ryan. Treasurer's report, York.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've provided you a 2-page report similar to what you've received in the past on activity and balances, and this is intended to reflect those balances as of February 1st. Just a really quick, some quick highlights of that report. Your special legislative contingency starts out the year 2020 with a balance of $100,000. The regular contingency fund starts with a balance of $200,000, and you did appropriate $10,000 from that in December, so it's now at $190,000. Capital data processing moves forward a balance of $49,321. Capital equipment moves forward a balance of $260,400 into 2020. And both of those reserves have appropriations in front of you tonight for 2020 funding. At the bottom of the first page, you'll see our summary of sales tax collection. For 2019, we have collected to date $12,418,000. There is still small payments to be received in the month of February that will be part of 2019 funding.
Yes, Eric, I got a question for you, since you're right on that sales tax.
Yes.
December, do you have an idea why we're that much lower for 2019 versus 18?
Yeah, I cannot definitively answer that, Greg, but we do have additional payments in February. My experience, I don't have the experience to know if they're going to make up that difference, so I'll have to wait and see what those payments are, but we do have additional payments to come in February.
That's a pretty big deficit.
Sales tax runs when we get it. First you pay to the state, then the state pays it to us. It's a month and a half behind, so that's not a full December number. We still have more receipts to come in.
I'll see if I can follow up on that a little bit more and get some information back to you.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. So, I mean, with that balance today, and again, with some additional funding to come, we are over our budget for 2019. The budget was at $11,500,000. And on the second page is a summary of activity in our internal service fund, and you will see a balance as of the end of December. Cash balance in that fund is $5,349,000, and again, that fund has been healthy, and that is a topic of regular discussion at our Health Insurance Committee meeting. Any questions on those? I will do my best to answer.
Questions, Rick? Thank you, Rick. Report of the Finance and Rules Committee per Rule 7. Sandra.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance and Rules Committee reports that they have examined the claims presented for payment in the total amount of $1,471,898.65 and recommend that they be audited and allowed for the amounts claimed.
Need a motion? Moved by Randy, second by Ron. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Go ahead.
All right. The first resolution auditing and allowing claims in the amount of $1,471,989.65.
Moved by Randy, second by Greg. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Hathaway.
Yes.
Burns.
Yep.
Chartran.
Yes.
Colzer.
Yes.
Legislator Osborne has been excused. Schultz.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Morahan.
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Dolhoff.
Yes.
Local law introductory number 1-2020, local law amending local law number 9, 2019, providing for the partial exemption of certain real property owned by persons 65 years of age or over, and fixing the date of public hearing on local law introductory local law number 1-2020.
Moved by Bill, second by Greg. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries.
Local law intro number 2-2020, a local law regulating and permitting special events on county roads, trails, or other county property. And fixing the date of public hearing on local law intro number 2-2020.
Moved by Gary, second by Ron. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Resolution to appropriate funds, capital buildings and grounds.
Moved by Andrea, second by Greg. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Resolution to appropriate funds, capital county road striping.
Moved by
Randy, second by Greg. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries.
Resolution to transfer and appropriate funds, capital data processing.
Moved by Jerry, second by Ron. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Resolution to appropriate funds, capital equipment.
Moved by Randy, second by Jerry. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Resolution authorizing renewal of lease agreement between the County of Lewis and Cornell Cooperative Extension of Lewis County.
Moved by Ian, second by Randy. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution appointing member to Development Authority of the North Country.
Moved by Greg, second by Dick. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution amending compensation plan of County of Lewis with reference to District Attorney Office.
Moved by Greg, second by Jerry. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I'm on the advice of the county attorney. I'd like to note my abstention on the votes dealing with the DA's office,
Okay.
rather than calling it out for each one, due to conflict of interest.
All in favor? Opposed? Show me in abstaining.
Resolution amending compensation plan of County of Lewis with reference to District Attorney Office.
Moved by Greg, second by Ron. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Show Ian abstaining.
Resolution to transfer funds, District Attorney.
Moved by Greg, second by Jerry. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Show Ian abstaining.
Resolution authorizing supplemental agreement number 1 between Lewis County Highway Department and the Engineering Services of Barton and LaJudas for the High Market Road over North Branch Sugar River.
Moved by Phil, second by Ron. Discussion. You said get your roll out, Warren.
Okay.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution authorizing agreement between the County of Lewis and Stantec Consulting Services to provide professional engineering design, construction management, and administration for a new above-ground fuel storage system at the Lewis County Highway Department.
Moved by Andrea, second by Jerry. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution appointing member to Planning Board.
Moved by Phil, second by Greg. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Resolution to appropriate funds, Planning Department.
Moved by Ian, second by Randy. Discussion.
Yeah, Jerry, this is the funds that were left over, right? Left over from 2019.
Frank, can you explain that?
So, are they earmarked already?
These are our non-program funds from CDBG that were paid back to the program over a period of years. We're allowed to use these funds for a community development project outside of the normal CDBG program. So they're considered non-program funds.
So are they already earmarked?
They are to the, if you approve tonight, they are to the planning department for community projects.
No, I mean, do you already have this money spent on projects?
We do not. We've made some recommendations to to the county manager. We've had some discussions, and but none have been appropriated to any organization or any agency yet.
Thank you.
Anything further? All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Resolution authorizing a renewal agreement between the County of Lewis on behalf of the Lewis County Probation Department and Capital District Youth Center.
Moved by Gary, second by Ron. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Resolution to appropriate funds, Public Health Department.
Moved by Bill, second by Andrew. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Resolution authorizing an agreement with Fort Drum Regional Health Planning Organization and Lewis County Public Health to accept a grant award for prevention and management of chronic disease.
Moved by Jerry, second by Ron. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Resolution to urge delay of new lead poisoning regulations due to an unworkable timeline and exorbitant cost.
Moved by Dick, second by Phil. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Urging New York State Department of Health and New York State Division of Budget to require providers to maximize reimbursement from all third-party payers.
Moved by Jerry, second by Greg. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Urging Governor Andrew Cuomo and New York State Legislature to improve early intervention program to better serve children and families through reforms to address lack of available providers in many areas of the state.
Moved by Jerry, second by Greg. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Resolution to transfer funds, trails maintenance.
Moved by Ron, second by Andrew. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Resolution to appropriate funds, E911.
Moved by Greg, second by Jerry. Discussion.
Is that annual, Jerry? Is this something we get every year? Or
Yeah, this comes out, there's certain piles of money we get, and you can use it for certain things. This one was, I think,
It's a maintenance contract.
this one, no.
Thought this was the Yip Johnson one.
C911, where the money come out.
It says equipment.
But that's a yearly thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all it says.
All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Resolution to transfer funds, E911.
Moved by Ron, second by Ian. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Resolution to appropriate funds for Social Services Department.
Moved by Randy, second by Greg. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Resolution to appropriate funds, Social Services Department.
Moved by Ron, second by Bill. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution to appropriate funds, Social Services Department.
Moved by Greg, second by Randy. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution to appropriate funds, Solid Waste Department.
Moved by Ron, second by Greg. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution authorizing agreement between Lewis County Solid Waste Department and Barton and Judas.
Moved by Andrea, second by Ron. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution appointing administrator of Lewis County Self-Insurance Plan.
Moved by Greg, second by Dick. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Resolution to transfer funds. WIOA.
Moved by Jerry, second by Randy. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries. It's a strange acronym. WIOA. WIOA what?
Workforce Investment Opportunity Act.
Resolution to appropriate funds for Youth Bureau.
Moved by Dick, second by Randy. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Resolution in support of Fort Drum's designation as a 4th Army Corps headquarters.
Moved by Ron, second by Dick. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Resolution appointing member to Lewis County Industrial Development Agency Board of Directors.
Moved by Andrea, second by Randy. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries. So, other business. I announced JCC Center for Community Studies will present their 2019 county survey results to the legislators at 4 o'clock on Tuesday, March 3rd. I think Ryan already noted that. Any other business, Dick?
Yeah, the FDRLO, which kind of changed their name to Advocate Drum, if you go into their website, you can sign a petition there as well, and they would like that if we individually go in there, they'd like to get as many individual signatures as well as a legislative body. So if you just go in there on the internet, Advocate Drum, there's a place to sign for a signature. I encourage everybody to do it.
Thank you. Anything else? Motion to adjourn. Dick, second. Randy, all in favor? Aye. Anyone against that? Yep. Okay, so you can stay. Rest of us are adjourned.